Captain Starlog, or Captain's Vlog, stardate 2024.529. So, we're going to continue with part two of Creators. And this is, of course, Mr. Jerry Siegel, who would be 110 this year, 110 years old. I remember seeing so many like people would. I think I remember the world's oldest woman from my memory was born in 1874. And I think she died just before the year 2000. What a time she lived, right? She was almost like W.C. Fields old, right? Really old people. Anyway, I don't think you'd want to live to see the state of fiction these days. It's like video games and wokeness and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, so Jerry Siegel, I mean, I don't know. I mean, when he first started out writing, he didn't mind using slurs for Asian stereotypes because I think at the time, Chinaman, Jap, that saying those things way back before, especially before World War II, didn't seem to be a big deal. After World War II, it was a big deal. So you had to kind of like scale back everything. I think by the time I was born, Negro was not an okay word. So there were just things that were changing. And funny enough, queer is okay because you could use queer in a proper sentence to describe something, but not homosexuality. But you could say faggot for cigarette, but not a person. But it's how it is. But anyway, besides that, um, he was more of conservative, more old school. Um, he is the one shade of white you don't make fun of. Being Jewish, you can't make fun of Jewish people. You can't. I mean, look, uh, Shaw was it? What's his name? Not P Diddy. The other guy, Kanye West. Kanye West tried to make fun of Jewish people, but that didn't work out too well for him. That's it's the one white people you can't mock. But anyway, um, he created Superman after so many trials and errors. He started out with all kinds of fiction, writing all kinds of stories. Then he wrote detective stories like with Slam Bradley. Doctor Occult was a guy in a trench coat who had that coin to ward off demons and supernatural enemies of humanity. Henry Duval was like one of the three musketeers. I think he wrote all kinds of stories, but he was always interested in science fiction. And at some point, he and Joe Shuster, who they met in high school, they came up with and along with uh, not Lois Amster, but Joan, right? Joan, I forgot her maiden name, but who became Joan Siegel and became his wife. She was the model for Lois Lane. And I remember some guy named Mayo Khan. I don't know if that was misinformation, but Mayo Khan was alleged to be the model for Superman. But I know they had a lot of different people. Like Walter Dennis was a reporter. Not sure if he was a photographer, but he was a reporter. He was the model for Clark Kent as well as Harold Lloyd. So using bodybuilders, even Joe Shuster looked at himself in the mirror and they came up with Superman and Clark Kent. Um, they came up with eventually, they had a prototype Superman that was like a guy who used mental powers for evil. But then they decided they would come up with this one all-purpose character that could do everything that nobody will say, no company will say no to. And then eventually they got National Comics, DC Comics, and everything was fine. They had Superman do certain things. Now, I think Comics Explains pointed this out, and I looked at it too, and I said, oh yeah, Superman kills people, but only in extreme times. If Lois is in danger, then he'll let people die. And at some point in the 1940s, late 1940s, DC Comics decided that no, Superman cannot kill anybody at all. A lot of things change, a lot of narratives change. Sometimes it's out of Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster's hands. Jerry Siegel had to go to war and then came back, and Joe Shuster's like, "Hey, did you know they got use of a Superboy? Didn't tell you." They figured they could just take the idea or completely change it, and not have to pay him anything more. Compensation was lost. A lot of lawsuits came after that. I still remember the death of Superman, in which Lex Luthor tricked Superman into thinking he reformed so that he could kill him later on, which led to the imaginary three-part story. And that was one of Jerry's last stories. I think his last story was what Superman found out that Perry White, Lois Lane, and Jimmy Olsen were robots and that they were held up somewhere, I think in the Fortress of Solitude. But the one that we all remember is the death of Superman, in which I think the only thing bad about that was the comic book cover. It should have been more deceptive in saying that Lex Luthor and Superman shake hands and that you wouldn't know Superman died until in the middle of the story. You would have been like, oh my God, they killed Superman. I didn't even know that was going to happen. Like, that would have been way better. That would have been like, oh yeah, shock and awe there. I think somewhere it was said that Jerry Siegel didn't like the other superheroes like Batman and Robin and Green Lantern, the Flash, the Justice Society, Justice League. He didn't like them existing, but it was going to happen. Superman started something. Nobody knew that Superman would start something. So some people would be like, what did Jerry Siegel expect? Well, why should he sue them? But these people knew what they ran with that football. And I think Jerry Siegel should have been compensated. As it is now, you see every issue of Superman or every TV show or every animated stuff by special arrangement with the Jerry Siegel family. Like, you better pay up. That's it. Pay up. And I think Jerry would have told his wife, because his wife fought for that. His wife fought like a bull. Just fought in there until they got the compensation for everybody. But if his wife didn't fight, it wouldn't have mattered because Jerry wouldn't have been alive to enjoy that money. He died along with Kurt Swan, the 50s artist, when I was 18. So it was very sad that I never got to meet him or Joe Shuster. Joe Shuster died right after Superman died in the comics, fighting Doomsday. But yeah, after all these court battles, I don't know. What is Superman now? I think it's whatever people want it to be. I do think that he might have enjoyed the story where Superman and the Authority fought Mongul on Warworld 2 years ago. So he would have liked some of the stuff today. The John Carter of Mars scenarios. I think Jerry Siegel liked certain stories. Maybe he would have liked Injustice Superman as a cautionary tale. It's hard to know where he would have thought. But that was his baby. That was his he fought more aggressively than Joe Shuster, but Joan wanted to make sure everybody got compensated. So there you go. Good win. So let's fast forward. George Lucas. So just kind of going that American Graffiti mentality. Yes, Mr. Star Wars himself. He, unlike Jerry Siegel though and Joe Shuster, he held on to his stuff for as long as possible. He held on to it for, how long did he hold on to it? About 25 years, I think, right? I believe it was 25 years. No, 35. Yeah, 35 years. 35 years of Star Wars. He held on to it until he decided to let it go. And that was it. I still the white slavers remark I always still remember. I think, though, looking back at all this stuff, THX 1138, and having reviewed the Planet of the Apes book for its 50th anniversary, The Visionaries, it does remind me, I think the two have very close realities to each other. But unlike Thomas, who died before the Statue of Liberty, THX 1138 escaped his prison. And instead of the prison where you have the City of the Apes, here it was the superstructure underneath the earth. He got away because he wanted to feel like he wanted to start over again. I suppose Thomas, he could have ran away with, he could have ran away with, what's her name? But, with Nova. But he didn't do it. Or actually, I'm getting confused here. So Thomas did not run away with Nova. But for THX, his living girlfriend died. So he was all by himself, so he had to go alone. A lot of different circumstances. It's about one man in a completely unlikely place, and how does he deal with it? How does he's flung from a place he's familiar with. It's like isekai, right? Isekai, you're in one place, but now you're in a completely different place. And how do you get out of this place that, for Thomas in Planet of the Apes, he died. That was the only way he was going to escape. In the final film, though, damn you all to hell, Charlton Heston says. There's actually a test screening of that with Edward G. Robinson. But here, THX escapes. Luke escapes Tatooine and goes and fights and destroys the Death Star with the rebellion from Yavin. Anakin Skywalker decides to fight good and become Darth Vader, having gone from Tatooine to being a Jedi and then finally escaping all that to become evil, be the Empire. And there's a lot of Joseph Campbell stuff. And I think now modern storytellers are just copying off of other people. You got to go back. I think everybody here who's a Star Wars fan should look at the miniseries with Joseph Campbell. I forgot the name of the guy, Bill Myers or Bill something. He interviews Joseph Campbell, the final interview that he ever gets from the 1980s, 87. That was a year for me. And it's there for free to watch on YouTube. You can see it. You learn so much. You learn about the classic stories of old, stories that were not necessarily in book form, but they were passed from family to family around the campfire. In family traditions, they tell about heroes and villains. And that's what Joseph Campbell focused on. I was thinking of Amaya Miller. For her, it's Mr. Rogers. For me, it was Mr. Campbell. And that's what George Lucas focused on. And so does Zack Snyder for his stuff. So, Star Wars is a different animal now. Kathleen Kennedy made sure to that. But we thank George Lucas for where he is. And he made a great showing last weekend, didn't he? Shigeru Miyamoto. Forever in his crystal city of Tokyo, Japan, right? So, I mean, we think back to Ralph Baer, and I do think back to Ralph Baer, and um, Ralph Baer and the Godfather of video games, and I think his grandson and son are still like. I don't know if I think they created the museum. They did put up the museum. Remember, Tommy Tallarico showcased that along with trying to pitch his stupid fake console. So then you had Nolan Bushnell, who kind of stole Pong. No, he did steal Pong and put it out for his Atari for 1972, or actually the arcades, and then 1976 for the Atari 2600. And then after Ralph Baer, who practically invented video games, first we had Space War on the oscilloscope, and then we saw Space War in, I think it was Soylent Green, was it not? And then we had Ralph Baer, then Nolan Bushnell, and then Shigeru Miyamoto. I'm not sure exactly if Donkey Kong was his first game, but Donkey Kong is one of the first. He created the original character that is sustained. Donkey Kong. And then Mario, and then Zelda, and he did work on Pikmin, I think. And after he did, when there came the sequels, he would just take a back seat and then completely disappear and let the other people create stuff. Eiji Aonuma, let other people create whatever. Sequels to Mario. I predict we'll get Super Mario Kino or Super Mario Destiny. And we'll get African tribal Samoan chant, like a chorus like you would see like you would hear in Avatar, right? And he would just have Mario, like you would see these chibi manga looking high school kids from Persona. One steps into the light, another one says, "Oh, what is this, a high school drama? Oh, it's the next Mario. There's Mario. He's dressed up as a high school kid, but it's like trading places. It's like Freaky Friday, but it's Mario in the real world and the high school kids in the Mario world." I don't know. It's going to be a complete... No, what they'll do is they'll shit can DMCA, the 3D Mario Maker that Vinny played that other time. And then they'll do that for the Nintendo Switch Squared, and then they'll put up that game. Mario in high school, right? Mario can't jump unless he's in Mario World. Stuff like that. So, Shigeru Miyamoto had shitty remarks about Donkey Kong Country, and, there were some ideas. As the corporate stooge, I don't really care. And who knows? I mean, maybe he was behind the DMCA, behind the suits and oh yeah, go ahead and DMCA those people. Who knows? It might. I mean, you never know. We hold him to this godlike tier status, and he did create a lot of great games, but you gotta wonder, how much do you trust the man to be like your moral authority? Just make the games. The corporations are your friends. Anyway, I don't think I'll be buying another Nintendo system after the Switch. I think I'm okay with my Steam Deck. I'm okay with board games and some retro games. I'm okay. It's like I'm enjoying. I still haven't finished. I still have not finished Tears of the Kingdom, have I? Or even Age of Calamity. What's wrong with me? Let's fast forward to the 90s. Spawn. Yeah. So I've said so much about it. Do I care about Spawn? Really, not really. I mean, the movie was okay to look at. Um, he started out with Marvel Comics with Spider Man. He's featured at the end of my 50 years of Marvel Comics, which I got at the library for $5. What a deal that was! So Spawn and but the biggest thing that he really did was revolutionize with McFarlane Toys. Now Todd Toys, now McFarlane Toys. The whole lawsuit thing cost him Angela. That was heartbreaking. He had to lose Angela. I wonder if he killed her off in a spectacular way that was like, oh my god. It's like no more Angela. I think he probably did. But the good news is he'll probably make. He's going to make an Angela statue. He's going to fight for that Angela statue. But I don't know. We'll see how that goes. We'll see. It's talking like 10 of his lawyers to see what he can do. But other than that, I mean, between him and Rob Liefeld, his friend, and we'll be getting to another person in a moment. But yeah, I'm proud of what he's done with McFarlane Toys, better than Mattel. He takes a personal interest in what he's doing in making the toys, vehicles, and making it work. And I got one of the figures that I won in a contest, and I show that off all to you. And I'll do more McFarlane Toy News if you all want to hear it. If not, hey, there's always more content that I can generate out of my ass. But good on McFarlane. He's in his 50s going on 60s, I think. I think he was born in the 1960s. Whatever. And now here's another creator. Yeah. Not really that much into her. But what can I say about J.K. Rowling? Well, she seems to flip flop on her politics. Didn't she say she would save all the migrants, even though she had 5 mansions? Then she's now very right wing. I don't know. Um, I remember from the things I've heard, she tried to pitch her books, and they said she was never going to make it. People like shat on her. That happens with it's the natural course of creating. And here she is now with multi-million dollars. With uh, I don't know who owns her work now. The publishing company in the UK. Harry Potter, 7 books, and an eighth book, I think, based on a play. I never did buy that book. I just can't get into Harry Potter. I really can't. Couldn't get into Harry Potter physically if it meant my job in Universal Studios and I couldn't do it. I had the game. You all saw me play it. Spaghetti-O. Hey, look, I did the magic trick. So I don't know. It's not really my thing, but tried as hard as I could. Um, Other creators I think of are Matt Groening, who did The Simpsons, and oh yes, here wait, I forgot about another creator. But anyway, can't get into Harry Potter, but she's made money, but I don't really care for her. Now, Jim Davis. Now, this was a little special to me because of Garfield, and he actually at 78, no pun intended, because Garfield was created back then in 78. Jim Davis went to the premiere of the Garfield movie with Chris Pratt, starring Chris Pratt. He approved of Chris Pratt's voice. I don't know why. I don't know what it was. Did Jim Davis not like Lorenzo Music for some reason? I don't know. But Lorenzo Music had been the voice of Garfield for, I would think, about 18 years. I would say 18 or more years. Um, the last thing he did being a CD-ROM game, which wasn't that interesting, but that was the last thing he did. I mean, Garfield and Friends and the specials. Jim was there to oversee everything that was going on. He made sure everything, the trains were running on time, everything was set, the voice actors were there. John Arbuckle, the voice actor, was based on a colleague of his, college roommate, I think. And there were different people. Greg Berger was Odie. Uh, Desiree Goyette, who also provided the music that will move you to tears, was Nermal. No Arlene. Arlene was drawn and shown, but never no voice actor for Arlene until we got to like the Bill Murray movies. And you had Lou Rawls who did the music as well, but those days are gone. And and you wonder why I put Lou Rawls in the short I did with when I kind of put music over the Garfield trailer. It's because that's the way I remember the cartoons. I remember Desiree Goyette singing. I remember Lou Rawls singing. And Lou Rawls is gone, and Desiree is just kind of doing her own thing. But it's sad. Garfield's not Garfield anymore. And I've heard nothing but bad reviews for that movie. It's like, okay, during the 80s, Jim Davis was boss. They said, okay, we want to make a Garfield doll, and we want to put some suction cups on him and make him stick to car windows. What do you think about that? The greatest merchandise thing ever was Garfield suction cups on a car window. That was the greatest thing that Jim Davis ever made as far as merchandise. Because after the 80s went downhill, he put his name on shit, and I mean garbage. The Sega Genesis games, um, just some of the low budgety things. The Game Boy Advance games with Garfield, there were Nintendo DS were not very good. The first movie with Bill Murray was okay. I liked it fine. I think it was a great tribute to Lorenzo Music and the fact that Bill Murray did the voice. And everybody will tell you there's a voice using the connection between Peter Venkman and Bill Murray. And yeah, we all got that. But aside from that, because Lorenzo had only been dead for 3 years. So the first movie was okay. Then the second one, The Tale of Two Kitties, was eh. Then there were different voice actors, and Frank Welker did the voice, but he could only do an impression. And I will say it again, James Aranda, PS Vita at 2 a.m. We miss you. I don't know if catering, I don't know if catering food service is what you've always wanted to do, but if it's not, you might want to just like put yourself out there as the voice of Garfield for fun and for shits and giggles, because nobody else can sound like Garfield, like Lorenzo, close to it, but you. And that's why I kind of showcase your voice a little bit, because no one else, and I will say it over and over again, no one else can do that voice but Lorenzo and James Aranda. So there you go. So that's all I got to say about that. Enjoyed the Saturday morning cartoons, though. They were great. Humankind. Well, what kind of human was Justin Roiland? So, Justin Roiland was the co-creator for, what is it? Rick and Morty. And all the abuse he did. Yeah, that sucks. I mean, Rick and Morty, I don't know much about, but I guess it exists. It was like a knockoff of what? Back to the Future, Doc Brown and Marty McFly, I guess. So, I don't have much to say about Mr. Roiland, and I don't care. So, he fucked up. I mean, it's weird because people will say, well, they go with the overall message. The creator is not important and the corporation's more important, but it's just one stupid person. And honestly, it's like, yes, he did create stuff and it was great, but um, nobody's going to be perfect. And this guy was far from perfect. Looking back, he should have just just pick up women at the nightclub. You're fucking Justin fucking Roiland. You couldn't pick up girls at the nightclub instead of just like sexually harassing women. What is it about? Between Harvey Weinstein and this dude, I don't understand how it is that some people just do not pick up women at the nightclub. I mean, it's ridiculous. Just pick up women at the nightclub. You're Justin Roiland. You're not some dude. You're not some guy off the street. You couldn't get accepted in there, I guess, maybe. Mr. Eric July. Awesome. What does Gary say? And the best part is, it's not woke. Yeah, thanks, Nerdrotic. You didn't help us. Yeah, Mr. Eric July, a real creator here. I I think the lesson is comic book character making a comic book company with comic books and comic book characters and building a universe isn't that simple that you could shit it out of your ass. I think he just told himself and told the fans, "Oh, look at these woke people on the left. I could do this. It's just this is easy. I can do this." No, you just can't do it. Now, I'm looking at Horseman by Chuck Dixon. I predict that the Horseman, Horsehead, whatever his name is, I think the comic book one shot will do okay. I don't think it'll be really good. I don't think it's going to be outstanding. I think that without a lot of direction, I think Chuck Dixon is just going to do whatever his training was, without much direction from Eric July, and just put whatever out there. Eric doesn't really care. He just wants to put out his own stuff. And everybody, you know what bothers me? It's not, and I think Vinny Vinesaw said this tonight when he was playing Super Mario Galaxy 2. And I say this, I don't, and Joey Diaz said this. I was like, I don't want to be the top, like, number one in fame or showbiz. I don't want to be number 10. I could be, I would prefer to be like the top 100 people, like a YouTubers, right? For me, I would, if I was number 78 in your favorite YouTubers, I'm okay. I could die a happy man because at least you're paying attention to me somewhat. So it doesn't matter to me. What bothers me is when some people who are the least deserving of even that kind of fame get that kind of fame because they talk shit about a CW show like Supergirl. And although I didn't like the Supergirl woke ideologies either, he got 1.1 million views for his talk about Supergirl and then became really, really famous. He went from doing track and fields. Okay, so 1.1 million followers. Then he goes from the track and fields and playing in a band to now being like this big celebrity who ends up on what, CNN, ends up on Timcast, ends up on all kinds. He's this big star. Okay, just like when Jenna Ortega blew up. Like the girl who did that twitchy, bratty look when she was at the Olympics way back in 2013 or so, or 20, I don't know. I think it was like 2012, right? The Olympics. Or it's just somebody that does something that goes viral, like the guy that like acting like a fool with your pants on the ground. Remember the American Idol? People just become viral famous for like no real logical reasoning, right? Because then again, I did get 600,000 views for Pac-Man board game, right? But that didn't mean that I was getting like millions of followers. Like I checked and I still didn't get that many. I started to pick up followers. Now I'm happy with where I'm at right now in 2024 as I'm talking. But he created these characters indirectly through artists and writers that people look at that and you would think that these people worship Yaira and ISOM and Alpha Core and that one band, that one rock band that was supposed to get their own series. And what is it? ISOM and Horsehead and Horseshit. That all these characters had been their life's mission, that this was their life's blood, that they had been waiting their whole lives for Yaira, even though nobody knows anything about Yaira, okay? It's like The Simpsons when Bart fell down the well, except he lied about it and then he fell down the well for real later on. Uh, Everybody makes songs about Yaira. Everybody makes statues about Yaira and ISOM and making maybe video fan games about ISOM and Yaira, whatever. It's like, and I create characters from 2 self-published books, and I don't got shit. I got nothing. I'm lucky if anybody doesn't want me fucking dead. And all the work I created, most people don't care about. But I'm going to still put it on my channel anyway, as proof that I was alive on this earth. Meanwhile, Eric July, somebody who just got to talk shit, who had other talents, didn't succeed in music, didn't succeed in track and field, but somehow succeeds. All you care about is that it's a young Ripa product. That's all you care about. It's not about how good he is as a writer artist, because his first book was shit. It was awful. I've seen the stills from like forums. It wasn't good. It was not that good. It wasn't worth reading. And lastly, this is my own stuff. So let's zoom out a little bit here. Look at that goodness. So what you're hearing there is immortalized by ruins of perception. Yeah, man. So this is my work. Here it is in all its glory. Can we get a nice sharp focus on that, please? There are Rosemary, the bounty licensed bounty hunters, the bail bondswomen, Sonny's bonds. Here's some more concept art. I am working on the stories as I am talking to you. I'm working on the art to present to you all. And here are the original cast of characters, the outcasters. For Ghost Passage, I this is the final forms. Okay, I am putting out a lot of work, and also too here is, if I can show it, the nice happy ending here when the mayor meets Amaya. This is the last thing you will see in this story. This is how the story ends. But what context is this all about? Oh, wait till you see it. Wait till I tell it to you. But that's all that matters to me, is trying to get these characters. I don't care about being more famous than Isom or Yaira or Superman or Sherlock Holmes or the Odyssey or the Iliad or Alice in Wonderland or Mother Goose and Grimm or any of that stuff. All the stories that we've had for centuries from time throughout time and space. I just want my fair share in the world. That's what I've learned from all these creators. I want to be remembered, and I do want to be compensated for my fame if I do have fame. I just want to be remembered for something. I had a hard childhood. It was very difficult for me, but I'm hoping that this time will be better. This time will be different. This time will be immortal. See you soon.